So people come to us because they're dealing with chronic pain.
Yes.
They've had it for 3 months or more. They've seen a medical doctor or a physical therapist, or some type of intervention was attempted and it failed. They think this is the best it's going to get. This is not the best it's going to get unless you decide it's the best it's going to get. Walking home from a block party, my 5-year-old daughter asks if I would put her on my shoulders. And I said, I can't, Daddy's tired. I broke a promise I made to myself. I promised myself I would never tell my kids I was too tired. And so I lied into the most natural, reasonable compromise that there is. I'm too tired for that. Not only was I not too tired, I'm never too tired for my kids. Until then, I knew everything I needed to do to get out of neck pain, but it wasn't important enough to me to do it. I never wanted to tell my kids, any of them again, I won't put them on my shoulders. Be an irritant. Because if you're an irritant to the system,
you'll wake people up.
By the way, not on purpose. An irritant doesn't mean to be an irritant. If the way that you irritate somebody else changes the way that they think about something, you could be opening an entirely new life to that person just by being you. The thing that you are afraid of changing is the thing that's in the not changing of it is the thing that's in the way.
The fact that I haven't changed.
No. The fact that you think you have to play this specific role in this specific vision instead of surrendering to the role that's being presented to you.
What is the role that's being presented to me?
I have questions, not answers. There are solutions for you that you may or may not know exist. And all it takes for you to live a completely different life is to decide that you're going to, and then take the actions necessary towards it. They can balance on the left side of the track or the right side of the track on their feet and get where they need to
go. Welcome to the Dr. Chris Stepien Show, where my mission is to help people who are suffering, and the doctors, therapists, and healers who are committed to doing something about it. I got my good friend here, Dr. Sean Pastuch of Active Life RX. Thank you for being here with me today.
Happy to be here, man.
And he is first one of my best friends, somebody I really look up to, but he also has a mission that I am inspired by, that he's really trying to do something for people who are suffering in chronic pain, just like we have this mission in Barefoot Rehab. And they help people find freedom without compromise.
Well done.
By getting them fit and out of pain, most through lifestyle coaching. Your turn.
I tell anyone who will ask, I tell them we're a personal development company disguised as a health and fitness company.
Yes.
So people come to us because they're dealing with chronic pain.
Yes.
They've had it for 3 months or more. They've seen a medical doctor or a physical therapist, or some type of intervention was attempted and it failed. And they think this is the best it's going to get. And they're attracted to our mission because we keep on telling them this is not the best it's going to get unless you decide it's the best it's going to get. And I think we serve a lot of the same kind of people in what we do as what you do in a very different way.
Yes. Different methodology, similar outcome.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would argue that it's going to happen faster if they come and see you, because you're going to put your hands on them and they're physically different a few minutes later. Mm-hmm. For us, they have to be dedicated to really making changes in their life, because one of the things that I like to describe to people when they're thinking about working with us is there are at least 3 very clear components to your problem. People think it's all physical, but if you treated somebody physically and then they went back to doing things exactly how they did them their entire life until the moment they came here, they're going to end up a patient here again. So we need to make sure that they're aligned internally, that they know who they want to be, they know how they want to live their life, and they understand what their life would look like if they didn't have the pain. Because then we guide to that. It's not to getting out of pain, it's getting back to that life. The second is the physical. You have to do physical things to overcome the physical problem that you genuinely have. Mm-hmm. And then last is the social, the connected component. The idea that if you want to be a millionaire, everybody knows, if you want to be a millionaire, make 4 friends who are millionaires and you'll become the 5th. If you want to be out of pain for the rest of your life, find 4 people who won't tolerate you saying, I have a bad back, I have a bad knee. You know how it gets when you get older. Find 4 people who would say, no, I actually don't. And you'll become the 5th.
Right.
So you need to have all 3 of those aligned. That's what we help people do.
And tactically speaking, what it looks like you're known for is doing these individualized, customized fitness plans virtually for anybody in the world.
Yeah.
Like that's in a very simple way. It starts off as that, and it turns into all this other stuff.
It starts off, they come to us thinking that that's what they're buying, and they're pleased. It ends up being much more.
Right. Because ultimately what you're offering is, they feel like their ceiling's here, and you offer them the hope and possibility you can have this much more.
We don't even take them unless they want this much more.
Interesting. How do you, where does that go in the conversation? Let's say that they're thinking that this cement ceiling, this is all there is. Where does the conversation go?
There's a question I love asking people that I don't even get to ask them anymore. Our team asks, but they ask, what would be different about your life if you didn't have this problem? And if that person doesn't know, we'll try to help them figure it out. But if that person doesn't want to explore that, they're not interested in figuring out what the answer to that question is, we don't take them as a client.
Right.
Because the reality is what we do is too invasive to their regular day-to-day for them to be successful without a really strong purpose.
By invasive, you mean you shake it up, you change a lot.
You're going to change who you are. And in the best way.
Right.
You're going to stop tolerating your friends saying things like, I have a bad knee.
Right.
You're going to stop allowing your friends to think that modifying around things that hurt when they exercise is normal.
Yeah.
And it's going to irritate you every time that you hear it. And people can be like, you're weird. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And you just know the truth. So why would you allow people to lie to themselves?
I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about the physical piece of it, because I'm sure people are curious about what that looks like and get into the other pieces. So from what I remember, some of the things that make you unique. First, I remember the initial assessment has a lot of different testing, both range of motion testing, but what I thought was really cool was the different strength ratios and the way you go right to left and what your squat relative to your deadlift should be.
So we've evolved to include that, but not to exclusively include that. For people who don't know, we have some of the same education, right? Like I went through some of the same assessment learning that you did.
You got F's and I got C's.
I got C's.
I got B minuses and you got C's. We went to chiropractic school together.
And then we studied soft tissue techniques.
We did.
In the same way.
Correct.
You went further than I did. But it's those assessments adapted for a different purpose. Right. But we don't even really get to most of that until somebody's a client. So we start off with a discovery call to see, do we actually think this makes sense? Like, is what we do what you want to do, and are we going to enjoy working with you? We actually refer out more of those people than I would like us to, which means either we are super high integrity or our marketing needs to improve or a little bit of both.
Right.
So there's that. If we believe that you're a good fit, we invite you in for a consultation, which is about an hour long. Discovery is 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And then the consultation is an hour to 90. That's where we're doing a lot of a deeper dive to figuring out what is it going to take to get you what you need. But the assessment process is more than 2 weeks long. After you've enrolled, we know what we have an idea of what it's going to take to get you there, but not specifically what it's going to be. We learned that over the course of 2 to 3 weeks of continued assessment. And that's strength balance, motor control, education, emotional resilience, all of these things. And then we figure out, okay, what's it going to take to help this person?
That's beautiful. Okay. So right now, off the top of my head, a lot of the assessments, we didn't get to, we did do the stuff in the gym where they're actually moving and checking stuff yet, from what you said.
A very small amount of that happens during the consultation.
Okay.
If they're coming in person.
Okay.
When they work with us online, we don't have an opportunity to do that with them until after they've enrolled.
Got it. So they haven't done that yet if they're
Correct.
online. Okay, cool. So, because I know from some of our patients, whether they're local or whether they're flying or traveling in, there's no one that I refer more to you guys because I trust you guys the most out of anybody who does any type of fitness work around chronic pain. Sometimes people are intimidated by what it sounds like, the amount of work that they might have to do in the gym. Mm-hmm. They want to do something that gets them fit and healthy, but they're scared of it feeling like
That's
it's too
interesting.
much.
That's interesting because I think a big difference between the client that we work with and the client we used to work with when I was working with elite athletes. Our clients now exercise for the sake of living their life.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be in a gym as little as they possibly need to be. And our job is to meet them there and to say, okay, if you would like to be in the gym less than 2 hours a week, let's design a plan that gets you where you want to go in less than 2 hours a week and be honest about how long it's going to take. If they don't have a gym, there are people we work with who exercise out of their homes without weights. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes that's all that they need. What I like people to understand is if you're an elite athlete who's lifting really heavy weights, sprinting all of the time and getting after it, you're going to have to recover that way too.
Right.
But if you're hurting because you sit too much in the car and then you go to your work and you sit at your desk and you don't exercise at all or very little, we don't need to put you through something so rigorous to get you the results that you want.
You meet people where they're at and you can customize based on
everything's totally custom.
And it's all focused on their goals.
I'll give you a really good example of a recent client who actually did fly out. This woman has MS. She has what's called RRMS. So RRMS is a type of MS that it comes in waves where it can be really bad and then it can be totally normal, right? And when it's totally normal, she likes to take advantage of it and exercise a lot. And she's found herself now in a position where if she exercises on a Monday, she can't really exercise again until the following Monday because her body's so beat up. So she comes out and we're like, well, what would you like? She's like, I'd like to be able to train at least 3 days a week, ideally 5. Okay, what do you want those training sessions to look like? She tells us, well, what do you want the results of those training sessions to be? Okay, can we aim for that? Yes, great. So there were several things that we found from her that she didn't know about herself. Like with the kind of MS that she has, she likes to collect 10,000 steps a day before she starts her work. So she would wake up in the morning and go for 10,000 steps. For somebody with RRMS, that's like 30,000 steps. And so I don't know about you, but if you've taken 30,000 steps in a day, you're shot.
It's a lot. So
we told her, we want you to take the 10,000 steps, but we want you to do it over the course of at least 3 different bouts. At least 3. And she's like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I have all these clients during the day. I have responsibilities. And I was okay. Well, which of them do you want to get rid of? You know, which of those are not actually serving you? And that was the first time she ever got met with like, I'm not impressed by that. I'm impressed that you came here, that you dedicated yourself to trying to better yourself. Part of the way for you to do that is going to be for you to not have a back-to-back schedule. How are you at handling your stress? She's like, great at handling stress. Like, I believe you. A sprinter who's great at sprinting can only sprint so much. So even if your ability to handle stress is a 10, if you're operating at a 9.5, you're redlining all the time.
Right.
So we need to figure out which clients you work with that cost you more energy than they're worth. We need to figure out what leads you to consistently believing that you need to be abundantly available for everybody in your life. We need to break those beliefs. We need to change the way you work with clients. We need to get you walking separate times throughout the day. And she went home, she was like, this is blowing my mind. She went home, she did those things, and now she trains 5 days a week. She doesn't have the pains she used to have. She doesn't get run down and destroyed. And it was a game changer for her, and the least of it was the exercise program.
Yeah. 2 things are popping up in my head right now. One is, which one do I address first? First, because I know who you are, we just did a walk around here and you were asking me some questions, and you're never afraid to tell somebody the truth that they need to hear. You'll do it with compassion, but you'll just be like this or that, which I love about you. And obviously, if you have staff, they're going to be similar to you. They're not going to beat around the bush when it comes to like being direct with a client. So it sounds like you're making people truly aware of what the reality of their situation is. And it also sounds like I don't like the word holistic, but it's actually, you address the emotional piece of why she's too available for her clients. Like I don't know how many fitness coaches?
Almost none. And the reason why that's important is we weren't getting as good of a result until we started. You know, we could get good results. We always got good results. We got the results people expected. That's not good enough. Like someone comes to you and they say, I'm in pain, I want to get out of it. You help them get out of pain. Great. There are thousands of people within driving distance of them who would tell them they can help them get out of pain. Who's going to tell that person that as a result of you getting out of pain or on the way to you getting out of pain, your entire life is going to be better? That is referable. And so we've recognized that we actually are much more successful doing that than we were just helping people get out of pain. It's almost like, I wonder if you experienced this, because I consider you the way that you were describing me. There's no one I refer for soft tissue work the way I refer to you. I've even talked about you on other people's platforms. It's easier, at least for me, to compete for the top than it is to compete for the top of the middle. Mm-hmm. And so I find that people oftentimes in the fitness world, in the medical world, they aim to be the best of the middle because being the top feels too out of reach. And I'm like, no one else is aiming at the top. It's so much easier to be there. So that's where the holistic thing came in.
I want to come back to that on the second half of this podcast, because that's me wanting to ask more personal questions.
I like your focus.
You're addressing the primary bottleneck that is going to stop somebody, no matter what the category or where it is in somebody's life. You're addressing the number one. It's like constraint theory. You're addressing the number one constraint that's causing their pain, not causing them to be healthy, not allowing them to be happy and fulfilled, and you're going after it.
And we're agnostic to who gets paid for that. Sometimes we refer people out to mental health because it's not in our wheelhouse, to a medical doctor because they need that first, to someone like you because they need that first. Like that, I think it's important that we meet people where they are, which means sometimes not being the one who gets paid immediately and knowing that comes back around.
Yeah. I love it. You're also selecting the right client. Like sometimes I'm really proud that with our clinic, Barefoot Rehab, and with our providers that we teach Adhesion Release Methods, that you should have a high batting average. Like in an ideal world, I'd have 100% batting average for every single patient I took on, so that you can market like, hey, if we take you on as a patient, we're going to really help you. We're probably at like 75, 80% for them being happy or fulfilled.
Well, you're 75, 80% on the people who have gotten 0% from the rest of the market.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Yes. And it sounds like you equally are selecting people. I don't think many fitness coaches, pain doctors, therapists think about selection. It's like any warm body they want in their office as long as they pay them money. But there needs to be an energy exchange, a value exchange.
There's two things from my experience, because I've been both. There's two things I think are happening for that provider at the same time, and they're in conflict, but that person doesn't want to see it. Number one is you think you can help everybody, so you genuinely believe it's the altruistic thing to do to have anybody come in.
Right.
On the other side of that, you're worried that if you say no to people, you won't make enough money because you won't have enough patients to be able to actually do the job.
Right.
And so I think that if you look at those things next to each other, if you're so great, like if you truly can help anybody, you don't have to worry about where your next patient or client's going to come from. So for the ones who are not lighting you up, who you're not like, yes, this is exactly who I want to help, I'm built to help this person, they're built to work with us, why are you struggling to refer them out? And I think sometimes it's that people genuinely think that they're everyone's best option. Sometimes it's that they don't trust anybody else in the market. And sometimes it's that their practice would go under if they didn't.
I think it's funny that I believe in chiropractic school, I know you're an athlete. I was an athlete. You played pickleball and I played football. You're pretty good at basketball. You played some baseball. Pickleball.
I've never picked up a pickleball racket.
Respect. And and I believe in chiropractic school, you wanted to work with athletes.
Yeah, it did.
And I also want to work with athletes. And I find it funny that now you work with chronic pain, and so do I.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
I climbed that mountain and I didn't like the view.
Tell me more. Because I think a lot of our adhesion release methods providers are probably on average 5 to 10 years out of school or graduating. And I find the young chiros, massage therapists, they annoy me, and they want to treat the athletes and they want to go for the giants.
So look, there's a guy who I think you would connect with really well. I just had on my podcast. His name is Mike Stella. And he was an athletic trainer in college. He's a certified athletic trainer. He does a lot of soft tissue work now.
I've seen him.
So he was just on my podcast and he was describing when you're an athletic trainer, you're not chasing money, you're chasing status. Mm-hmm. And the status that you're chasing is directly correlated with the logo on your shirt. So are you at an SEC school? Are you at a power SEC school? Are you in the Big 12? Like, where are you an athletic trainer?
Right.
And it's this game of excitement, right? Like you want to be in the locker room.
Right.
You get exclusive access to people nobody else gets access to. And that's intoxicating, especially when you're coming up and you feel like you have something to prove to the world. So for me, there was like this weird dance between an inferiority and a superiority complex that I had, right? It was like, I know I'm great, but you don't know I'm great. Right. So I'm going to work with the best in the world so that you'll know the best in the world chose to work with me. Right. All of that was happening at the same time. Right. And then you get to doing it and it genuinely becomes fulfilling for a bit because these are people. In what way?
Because you get that recognition.
No. I mean, like beyond that.
Okay.
I've worked with people who I never took a selfie with because everybody wanted to take a selfie with them. Right. And I knew if I asked this person for a selfie, everything about our relationship changes. So I get to be the guy behind the athlete that nobody knows is behind the athlete so the athlete can shine. And watching people around these people try to draft off of that attention and that status really drove me to not do that. And it led me to feel gratified when the athletes I was working with had the safety, like the psychological safety of my doc isn't in this for him. He's in this for me.
And that sounds like it gave you some internal validation.
It did.
From yourself.
It did. And it's where the shift started for me because what I recognized was I'm not getting any status being in the locker room.
Right.
Nobody knows.
Right.
My family knows, sure. But I'm not out there talking about it because my job is to help these people, not to exploit my relationship with them.
Right.
So I was like, well, okay. And I enjoyed helping them. That became really fulfilling. But there is a rat race of staying at the top in the athletic world where athletes retire. And you got to meet the next one who's coming up before someone else meets the next one who's coming up, or you become irrelevant. And I got tired of getting to know 16 to 18-year-olds who were going to be the next big thing.
Right.
Just for the sake of staying in that game.
Right.
And I recognized that the gratification I was getting was actually from giving these people their lives back. Mm-hmm. There were so many people who I felt were being, like, it took me back from there. I went back to my come up, if you will, working with clients at Equinox who the rest of the world was telling, this is the best it's going to get for you.
Before chiropractic school.
Pre-chiropractic school. Yeah. And then after chiropractic school.
When you were a trainer.
Yep. And I was like, these are the people who need my help. I'm going to focus on them. And that has been like seeing these people, like we dropped a testimonial a few days ago of this woman who, funny enough, wanted to get back to playing pickleball. And everyone else just told her, look, you're in your 60s, like that might not be the thing anymore. And in the video, she's like, not only did I get back to playing pickleball, but I put my bike on the rack of the back of my car. And that wasn't even what I joined to be able to do. And I'm like, this is it. Like, that's going to be a better grandma. It's a better mom. It's a better wife. It's a better friend. We change a community by changing those people. That's way more gratifying for me.
I love it. I get it. I was going to ask you questions leading you to what you just shared, which is why you got back into yes, the pain, the chronic pain, the transformation.
Well, again, we don't solve for pain. We solve for compromise. And the compromise is lying to your kids about why you can't do something. I'll share my story in a second if you'd like that. Giving up the sports that you used to love. Skipping the vacation that you know you would want to go on because you don't want to be a burden on your family when you're away. These are the things that, and even like, I have a friend right now who's having to change sexual positions with his wife because the way he can't get into missionary. He can't post up. I'm like, listen, there's some advantages to learning some new positions, but at the same time, like these are compromises. Yeah. So we don't solve for the pain. We solve for the compromise. And on the way to compromise, we solve for the pain by necessity.
Got it. You couldn't put your daughter on your shoulders.
Correct. I lied to her.
Okay. And what did that make you feel when you noticed you were compromising?
Oh, I had, so the story was we're walking home from a block party. My 5-year-old daughter asks if I would put her on my shoulders. And I said, I can't, Daddy's tired. Now I broke a promise I made to myself, which was not that I won't lie to my kids, because I lie to my kids about unimportant things, right? And anyone who, I was at an event recently, I said that from the stage, and I saw in the audience, people were like, I don't lie to my kids. Unfortunately, my next slide was Santa Claus. I was like, fuck you. Yeah, you do. But you know, it was, I promised myself I would never tell my kids I was too tired to do anything with them. And so I lied into the most natural, like reasonable compromise that there is. I'm too tired for that. Not only was I not too tired, I'm never too tired for my kids.
Right.
So until then, I knew everything I needed to do to get out of neck pain, but it wasn't important enough to me to do it. I didn't have a strong enough purpose to do it. I never wanted to tell my kids, any of them again, I won't put them on my shoulders.
Right.
They were 7, 5, and 3 at the time.
Right.
I was carrying my 9-year-old on my shoulders at the Islander game last week.
Right.
Until I got yelled at by security.
Got it. And I don't know if I missed the emotion behind it was.
Oh, I felt emasculated.
The empathy. Okay.
No, I felt emasculated because a man doesn't do that.
Got it.
I felt like I was creating like this whole moment. Like I saw, it's like in the movies when you see like flash forward.
Yeah.
I saw my daughter telling her kids that she was too tired when she wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn.
Right.
I gotta break that cycle before I start it.
Got it.
So that was it.
You identified a father as being very present and never tired for their children. And you're like, this is who I am. You identified yourself as this person, and then you took the actions because of that identification.
I play with my kids.
Yes.
Even when I don't want to play with my kids, I want to be with my kids. And so I do it. And I didn't in that moment. And I was really angry about it.
I love it. I love it. So the shift to freedom without compromise. Mm-hmm. What was...
So we had a mission statement that was empower the individual, humanize the healthcare industry by professionalizing the fitness industry to empower the individual. And our core values sounded like they were written by some consultant who ran it through HR, made sure it was okay. They then asked DEI. DEI was like, I don't know. I got to check with my grandma, see if she likes it. And it was just sterile.
Yeah.
I hated it. And so, and I did that with a team of people on our team, all of which, except for one, no longer work at the company. And I realized if I'm going to love the company that I own, it has to be a reflection of me. My vision for it has to be big enough for the vision of our team to fit inside of it. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm not going to ask anybody what they want the core values to be. I'm just going to come up with them myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to recreate the mission statement because it's not about healthcare or fitness. It's not about any of that. Mm-hmm. And so the new mission statement is empowering lives of freedom without compromise. And you could add agnostic to who gets paid as a how. And the core values shifted from the single word like integrity, which then had to explain my interpretation of integrity.
Right.
To 5 core values that are really meaningful and polarizing for me.
Got it. Got it.
We live by them.
Okay. This is more of you.
It's-
Freedom without compromise is you.
Yes.
And then everybody gets to observe how your people and the company is a reflection of who you are because your vision.
Yes. So we like to tell our clients, when you enroll with us, Audacity is included. What that means is, I don't even need to tell you what it means. Like, you know what it means. The reason that we tell them that is because the world is going to expect you to regress to the mean.
Right.
The world expects you to say, I have a bad back. The world expects you to say, I'm a trainer. I don't do this to get rich.
Yeah.
The world expects you to accept what the medical professional told you your future is. When you work with us, all of those things are gone. And that requires audacity. So we include it.
Dude, I love it. Speaking of audacity and vision, then, let's hop around a little bit.
Sure. You want to get up and physically hop?
One leg and rub your tummy.
Okay.
Do the thing.
I can do that now. I got treatment a moment ago.
Pull your
I
ears.
can do that now.
Yeah. Hamstring feel good?
It feels great.
Okay, good.
Like butter.
Good. You look like butter. I like this question because then you can connect the dots from behind. You are 100 years old on your deathbed.
Won't be 100, but sure.
No?
We're going longer.
You're soft. Oh, you're going longer?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was going...
I made a post a few weeks ago that was, I'm going to be at my 5-year-old daughter's 70th birthday party. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to dance at it. I'm going to give a speech.
How old will you be?
I'll be 100, I think 104, 103, something like that.
Are you doing the things every day in order to be 104?
What's funny about that is I recently got into a debate, like an argument with a colleague about longevity, who's a longevity doc.
I saw the podcast.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Or I listened to it at least.
Well, I was explaining, the thing that all of these people who live to be 100 have in common is none of them tried to.
Right.
So the idea of like, eat this, live here, exercise like this, it's all bullshit.
Right.
All of those people, I think, lived to be that age because they were going to live to be that age. So I'm just living every day. That's my plan to get there.
Got it. I didn't hear that perspective in the podcast. Cool. You're 114 years old. Fine.
That works.
Fine. You're 114 on your deathbed, and all your loved ones are around you, and you've done 10x God's potential for who Sean Pastuch is. What does Active Life RX become? What does it do? What change does it make in the world?
Meaning, what is it by the time I'm there?
What change does it make in the world? What impact does it have? What does it changes or shifts? Like, what does that look like?
On a surface level, it's an off-ramp for people who do not want to participate in the medical system or the fitness industry. They're uninspired by the fitness industry, and they know that the medical system doesn't understand them. So they want a different place to go be. It's Active Life. We become the marketplace. We welcome the doctors in who we know are treating the patients in the way that is aligned with the way that those patients want to live. We develop the fitness professional to become the Active Life professional who bridges the gap between where the fitness industry ends and the healthcare industry begins. And people can opt to exit the traditional paths for them and land on the Active Life marketplace where all of that can happen. And it can be accepted as a norm, even an aspirational way to live that doesn't have to cost people more than the other way. That's where the company ends up, encompassing of financial planning, of like financial literacy, of mental health, of relationship health, of physical health, of medical health. All of those things are going to be found on that marketplace in time. And people who don't want to participate in fitness or healthcare are going to go there. What it's going to do on a larger scale than that is...
I want to know about the word marketplace before you do that.
Because
you choose words.
Yeah. A marketplace means... there's a fitness marketplace right now. If you wanted to work out, you would Google gyms near me, trainers near me. There's a lexicon that represents how you would find the service provider that you're looking for. There will be an entirely new lexicon for somebody who lives in the referral circle of the people who we associate with.
Got it.
That's the marketplace I'm describing. So when you go to Google, you're going to search for that group of people specifically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you jump off, I just want to, this is really cool. I was just speaking to Bear and Koa, go to this new school out of a home where this couple started it, and it's all about alternative schooling. And I spoke to their 8 to 14-year-olds about entrepreneurship. And one of the things I was speaking to was Seth Godin's concept of when you create a business, you create a world, and they have different conditions and an environment and language. And I just couldn't help but think, but you're trying to create, you say marketplace, but it's really an entirely, from my perspective, different world
100%.
Of operating in. Kudos. Keep going.
Thank you. The larger impact I'd like to have, because I think that can happen for people without us. It just won't be as organized. In fact, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but I think that you're going to see a massive cleave over the next 10 years between the people who can afford to choose the healthcare providers that they want and the people who have to follow their insurance. We already have it. It's going to be obscenely wide over the next 10 years if nothing changes. That's my position. Moving off of that, I want to do it where the money is not the barrier.
Right.
It's the decision. The more important impact I think we'll have is right now when I look at the way that big business operates, it's how do we juice the most out of our employees? And big businesses can have these core values in this mission statement, but then the person who wins Employee of the Month is just the guy who sold the most last month. But he's fat, he's diabetic, he's got high blood pressure, his relationship is on the fritz, he's an absent father, but he can sell his ass off. That guy doesn't win Employee of the Month at Active Life. He doesn't get celebrated at Active Life for his performance.
There's no compartmentalizing.
He's not right. The person who we celebrate becomes the person who best aligns with the company's core values in and outside of work. The Trojan horse for how we do this is everything I just described, but what I really want to do is influence culture in such a way that we shift what we celebrate to align our incentives with the kind of a life that we all want to live. And that's, I think when we are mega successful, people will look at what we did and say, how did they do that without following the typical corporate rules that everybody else has had to follow to get there? And people will copy it, people will study it, and people will install it. And the world will be better for it.
I love it. Transformation of people, both the people within and the people outside. Transformation of what business looks like. Transformation of community and people.
Listen, I like to make abundantly clear to anybody who wants to investigate it, right? That I'm acting on the things I'm describing. I don't have the influence to act on New York State or New Jersey or the United States yet in the way that I want to. So I'm acting on Long Beach, New York, where I live. I'm at the school board meetings. I'm in one-on-ones with the superintendent, with the assistant superintendent, with the director of food services. We're changing the menu together in school. We're going to start tackling phys ed, and we're going to start tackling free play and all of these things because they are aligned with where my vision for where I want things to go is, but they're not entrepreneurs. And so I told them, if we're aligned on this, and I think that we are, I would love to come in and learn what the problems are that you run into when you try to do these things so that I can help you overcome them. Because one of my unique abilities is when you put a problem in front of me, I will overwhelm it and it will be gone. And so that's what we're doing right now. We took this big web of problems and simplified it into, so if we do these 3 things, we solved all of those things. So instead of focusing on all of those things, let's focus on these 3 and watch where we go. And so those 3 things for us to start are all food dyes are out of our school. No more high fructose corn syrup. And by September 27, our intention, our stated goal is that we are going to have a whole fruit or vegetable a lean protein, and a simple carbohydrate at every meal. No more processed foods in the school at all. We don't have to look at single ingredients and rule them out if we rule those three things in every meal. So they weren't thinking about it that way. And so now they are. So once we get that, we start focusing on.
They weren't thinking about what needs to go in. They were thinking about that needs to be excluded.
Yes. And there's a lot more things that need to be excluded than what needs to go in. And when you jam the things that you need in, you eliminate room for the things that need out. And so I'm doing that with the school district. But what one of their obstacles is that there are families whose kids will only eat, for example, macaroni and cheese. Just make it up, right? So the parents will say, will you please make sure you have macaroni and cheese in school? If you don't have it, my kid won't eat. So the mistake would be to try and do all of this overnight.
I was going to ask you, 3 years, isn't 3 years too slow?
It's too slow for me.
I get it.
And it's probably too fast for those families.
I get it.
So what we need to be able to do is take everything that is bad about propaganda that we see every day, make it good, and then deploy it on our community and educate them on why these things are better for them. Teach them that it's not going to cost them more money. In fact, it's going to cost them less. And get them excited about eating it. And then it will be there.
What I love about what you're talking about is first you're in the minutia and the details of what you're doing. You're also, it's almost like the business owner who takes out the garbage and gets their hands dirty. Mm-hmm. Is you're actually executing on something that's important to you to show that there is no compartmentalizing. Katie and I are potentially looking to purchase land in New Jersey and do the whole homestead thing.
Oh, nice.
And one of our 5 core values at Barefoot Rehab is Mother Nature, like the mm-hmm. earth. I love the earth. And so we were talking, I think it was this past weekend, and when I was down in Peru with her years ago, there was a composting toilet with a bucket. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, if we're going to do this, can we have composting buckets in New Jersey? And we both agreed that this is something that we really felt like this is what we want to do, is to give our poop back to the earth mm-hmm. and just have more values that apply to the overall big thing that we're trying to do, which is similar to what you're doing in the schools.
I love it.
It's really powerful, because I think people need to always see that you're leading from the inside and not some external place. Otherwise it feels fake, or subconsciously they're like, you're actually a joke because you're not.
And look, I don't have the skill set to get into the minutia and execute. I'm a really good visionary mm-hmm. and a really poor implementer. Mm-hmm. So I told the school district, for example, and I do this in my company too, I don't know how to do anything. I don't have any of those skills, but I do understand how to strategically solve problems. And so if you'll allow me to do that, we'll turn this problem into a business that doesn't make any money. I'll find the people in our town who are aligned, who have a unique set of abilities that can help us do this. We'll find somebody who's really good with marketing. We'll find somebody who's really good with logistics. We'll find someone who's really good with sourcing. We'll find someone who's really good with events. We'll build a team. And then we will come up with a strategy together that we are going to deploy in order to get our school from where we are now to September 2027, what I just described. And we'll just let everyone do what they do great and get out of the way. And so that's what I'm great at. Creating the work environment where everybody's inspired and feels psychologically safe to get after something with a lot of vigor.
I love it. That's a beautiful change. And it's exciting to think about. And I imagine it probably enrolls a lot of your staff and obviously your clients in your vision of it. I texted you, I think a week or two ago, and I was curious about, I know your parents and I know some of your childhood and all that. You talked a little bit about what it's like for you when you're not the best father you can be from an identity perspective. But I'm curious from the perspective of your own suffering, because ultimately you're helping mm-hmm. people suffer less. And you said to me, it's when I'm not being the identity that I have mm-hmm. in my... Tell me more about that.
So it's easy to come on here and talk about all the things that I'm working on and have them sound great and exciting and, aspirational, and they are. It's another thing to go into tomorrow every day, right? So it's like when people watch a movie and they see the training montage, and then the thing happens at the end, like Rocky fights or wins or whatever. That training montage for that fighter is actually 12 weeks, all day, none of that music, and it sucks.
Yeah.
The day to day of what I'm doing is exciting because of the end I see in mind. And it forces me to, like, I have to be delusional about who I think I am if I'm going to be able to pull it off. And I think delusion leads to reality, right? Like it's Steve Jobs talked about a reality distortion field. I am creating that for myself. And there are days that I miss. And I'm like, I don't know if I have the freedom to miss. And so I think about that all day, all night, into the next morning. And then I have to be really careful about how I talk to other people the next day, because they don't have a lightning bolt of urgency shoved up their ass like I do if I'm feeling like I failed the day before. I have to remember when I come in, no, they might have done exactly what they were supposed to do yesterday. It was you who didn't. And so the energy it costs me to self-regulate, to be conversational with people when I feel like I'm underperforming is heavy. There's a lot.
To keep the finger pointed at yourself.
No, it's easy to point the finger at myself. It's hard to not run 1,000 miles an hour.
Be patient.
Yeah.
And wait for other people to up level.
All right, I'll do a better job. Think of it this way. Imagine you really wanted to build a structure. And at the end of the first, like, okay, if I'm going to get this structure done on time, this is what needs to get done every single day. This is like, we're mapping it out. We know how long it's going to take, what materials we need. We'll be done by this date. It's the end of day 36. And I realize I laid all of my material wrong on day 36. I want to go into day 37 and do day 36 and day 37 at the same time. I got to get back to where I'm supposed to be. But that's not a real thing. I don't have the opportunity to do that. And so if I come in with that kind of energy, I can plow through other people trying to do and doing their job properly. Because for me to move past day 36, I need them to chip in to help me move faster than I'm supposed to be able to go by myself. But they're working on something else. So it's this battle of like, no, you don't actually have access to Mary today, to Nick today, to Sam today, to Cody today, to Larry today. This is you. They're doing what they're supposed to do. You fucked up yesterday. So you make up as much ground as you possibly can, but it doesn't become their problem.
You want to be and do the things that you feel you're supposed to be doing. And if you don't do those things, there's some type of pain that causes you to want to fix it faster in order to not feel the pain anymore.
Yeah, it's that. It has me question if I'm just making this all up. Like, is this really important to me? If it was really important to you, why didn't you do all those things yesterday?
Right.
The person who is really important to gets those things done, Sean. These are the conversations I have with myself. And then I'm like, no, you're being a crazy person. Like, people have off days. You had an off day yesterday. Perhaps when you made your plan, you didn't account for being a human, and you should have. So that's when I feel like I'm not living up to the potential that I know I have. I question whether I am who I believe I am when I know I am who I believe I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Do you? Because I fucking hate it.
I mean, my mom has said similar things about why I asked her a question like 10 years, 2014, I remember it was, I said, do you love yourself? And she probably could flesh this out more now, but I think she said, only when I'm being and doing the things that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just rolled that around and like digested that for 10 years. I have a different background and past than other people. And so part of like what I try to get myself to do is to love myself no matter what. But I have a hard time with, do I conditionally love myself?
Don't you think you can love yourself and not like yourself at the same time?
Brilliant.
Right? Like, I mean, look, I love my kids. Sometimes I can't fucking stand my kids. And it's the same for me. Like, I do love myself. I love myself unconditionally. There are days that I'm like, you are the most annoying person in the world to me about me.
It's very honest.
You asked.
It sounds like you're very good at boiling down / removing any of the BS excuses that would prevent you from doing the stuff that you're doing. I'm much better at justifying and rationalizing, not doing the big things that I want to be doing. And I think it's amazing. Am I jealous of? Yeah, I'm jealous that haven't yet proven to be as mentally ninja-like.
I don't know that I would describe it as mentally ninja-like. I'm way better at solving other people's problems than I am at solving my own, like anybody else is. It's the number one stress in my life. Is
solving your problems.
No. The number one stress in my life is, are you who you think you are? And how will you know? Like I was just talking with another friend of mine who's wired very similarly to me, and she right now she's on a proverbial rocket ship in her career. Everybody wants to be around this person, and she deserves it. She's incredible. And I was talking to her, and she's like, I said, hey, a few years ago you mentioned to me that you felt like you were outside of the top tier, and that you wanted to break into the top tier. And I told you I thought you already were in it, but I understand why you think you're not. I think it's undeniable that now you are. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to congratulate you because I was thinking about you this morning, and she was like, it's so funny you say that because you're right. And I don't feel like I've made it at all. And I don't know how I'll know when I did. I'm like, I don't think you will.
Yeah.
And I feel that every day. Like if you came to the Sean Pastuch who was working 80 to 90 hours a week in turmoil between partnerships, making just under $30,000 a year, treating everyone exactly how he wanted to be treated, which is not how most people want to be treated. Right. And said, look, man, in 8 years, 10 years now, this is what your life is going to look like. I would have taken it. But now I'm living that life, and I'm like,
is that a hedonic treadmill?
I don't know. It might be.
I mean, it must be just human nature.
Maybe, but I don't think it's for me. Like if I achieve what I'm working towards, I get the gratification out of other people living better lives, not out of them knowing I gave them better lives.
It's the acknowledgement and the recognition that's being accumulated.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't need the credit. It's
the internal validation, similar to the work with the athletes.
I only need to be approved by me. The interesting, like if you said, hey, I'm going to give you an extra $1 million right now, what would you do with it? I'd spend it on other people. Like, I'm not going on more lavish vacations. I'm buying a bigger house because we redid our whole house for 3 kids and we have 4 now. Mm-hmm. Oops.
Oops, baby.
But other than that, it's like everything else that we do, that I would do with that money, would be to improve the lives of other people. And every time I accumulate money, I spend it on other people. So it's not about like I don't know if the hedonism comes from me accumulating and me gaining more and more and more status, or if it comes from me seeing the change that I genuinely want to create.
The hedonism for you is the recognition and the multiplication of your potential. Instead of being, I said 10x
Mhm.
God's potential at 114. So it's more like I'm gonna 20x it, I'm gonna 50x
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
I'm gonna 100x
Right.
it, and then that gives you fuel for
Mhm.
continuing to become.
Yeah. Like I can see myself, I'd like when I die to do it around family and loved ones. And I could see it being at my desk.
It's like your altar,
Kind of.
the same desk you have now.
No, it'd be a way cooler desk.
What would be cool about it?
Oh man. I I I I like furniture. I like design. And I just imagine a desk that wouldn't fit in my office right now. That's not even meant to be a desk where I can have like my whole life on it.
You like space.
Mm-hmm.
Space.
Mhm.
Space matters to you.
Yeah.
Does anybody who's trying to do something like you're doing like space? Not everybody likes spaces.
I don't know.
What do you think of this space?
I think it's a cool space. I would love a room like this for my podcast for sure.
You better talk to the team.
I'll talk to the team. We're moving to Denville.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, it's Long Beach.
I would merge the clinic with you guys, but
There you go.
that's another story. That's interesting. Well, we don't have to go down the space tangent. I love it. I appreciate.
Well, I'll share this about spaces. I'm not a designer, but I know what I like. And I think that when you walk into a space, whether it's outside or inside a room or a building, that space has an energy, and that energy can either fuel you or it can drain you. It, like spaces to me are givers or they're takers. And so I'm really particular about what I want the spaces that I exist in to be like.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I feel that too. That makes sense. So you're going to die tomorrow because you're 114 on your deathbed. And to the ideal client, the person who's suffering in pain, suffering in their life because they're compromising, besides calling Active Life RX, what wisdom would you share with that individual?
You are both the source and the solution to your own problems.
Giving them the power back.
It's always been theirs. It's there's like the thought process that people give their power to others. I don't think that happens. I think people try to give their power to others, and the way I think of it is, it's almost like a desperate salesperson, where they're like, "Please buy one." Like, what about half of one? And they're trying to sell their stuff to somebody else. There are no buyers, so you've never actually given your power up. You just haven't decided that you want it. Like, actually, I don't want to sell this. I want to keep this. And it's through that where people are able to change everything that they want to change about their life. I saw a guy yesterday made a post that really gave me the chills, even cheered me up. I showed it to Kim, my wife. I gave a keynote at an event in Las Vegas back in March. And he made a post where he put a question box up. And on his question box, it was, ask me anything. And he asked himself, how are you doing? And then he wrote this whole long thing about how he was doing and how good now. But I wasn't. And I didn't even know it until I went to this event and Sean Pastuch spoke about the compromise that we make in our lives. And I realized when he asked that question, how many compromises I was making and what those were costing me. So I don't make them anymore. And now I'm doing good. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, this is so cool. And so I don't think that guy ever gave his power to anybody else. He just wasn't recognizing that he wasn't using it.
Would you identify with this characteristic with the word sovereignty?
I don't know how you would define sovereignty.
I think it's being aware of the power you have in your life to make change.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's I have a newsletter. And in my newsletter this week, I got a lot of feedback. Good feedback. But I was asking people, when do we become afraid? Like, when do we become afraid to just be ourselves? Who are we afraid to offend? Why are we afraid to offend them? What is the value of that person in our life? What is the influence that we're having on that person by being less of ourselves than we actually are for their purported benefit, because we project that they can't handle who we really are or wouldn't like it? Well, if they wouldn't like it, why do I want to be friends with them? They're not actually friends with me. They're friends with the version of me that I let them see. So you might as well just go ahead and be yourself, all of yourself, and come up for air in a few months. See what you're doing. That's your life. See who you're with. Those are your people. And I got a lot of responses from people who were like, yeah, I'm afraid to offend this person. I'm afraid to upset this person. I'm afraid, like, all of these things. And my questions back were always, how fulfilled are you right now? I'm like, not very. I'm like, how fulfilled would you be if you weren't worried about how these people responded to these things and you just did them? Pretty fulfilled. I'm like, great. Was that helpful? I'm like, yeah.
Just do them.
Yeah.
And act despite the fear.
Just be them.
Be them.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't give you license to just be an asshole.
Right.
It gives you license to say, hold on a second. In your case, I want to build a homestead. People would decide not to do that because they're concerned with how their friends, their family, their community would think you're a crazy person. You don't trust big ag or big pharma. What are you, a conspiracy theorist? It's like, well, I don't think it's so much of a conspiracy, but also it has a lot less to do with them and a lot more to do with me wanting to be independent. Why is that conspiracy theorist and crazy? And doing it anyway. I give you a lot of credit for even being in the contemplation phase around something like that. Whether you end up doing it or something like it, it's because you have the audacity to be all of you. And there are people right now who are afraid to be all of them for the way they think it's going to make somebody else feel, which is somebody who actually might learn a lot from watching you be you.
I'm pretty sure it was Larry that called me a walking human allergy at one point.
What does that mean?
He said I make people sneeze and
How?
cry.
And what?
Sneeze and cry. You're saying be an allergy. You're saying be an allergy to people and be yourself.
Yeah,
And don't be worried about who you make sneeze, cry, or sick, or whatever else it is.
Well, I think the difference is you don't actually, like, you don't have the ability to make somebody else sick or to make somebody else upset.
Respect.
They choose to feel how they choose to feel, whether they realize it's conscious or not.
Agreed.
Be an irritant. Because if you're an irritant to the system,
you'll wake people
up. By the
up.
way, not on purpose.
Right.
Like, an irritant doesn't mean to be an irritant. When you chop an onion, the onion isn't like, I'm going to make this bitch cry. It's just being an onion.
Yeah.
So if the way that you irritate somebody else without intending to irritate them changes the way that they think about something, you could be opening an entirely new life to that person just by being you.
Right.
And if it irritates someone in a way that they don't like, they can not do it.
Right.
That's a choice.
Right.
When I worked with a sex and love coach during the pandemic, because why not? So there's a will, won't, want list. And what happens is there's all of these activities, sexual activities. And there's a will category. I will let you do that to me, and I will do that to you. There's a won't, which is I won't let you do that to me and I won't do that to you. And there's a want. I want you to do that to me and I want to do that to you. And in the end, what you do is you compare where are our wants, and you find like, oh, you're into that too? That's cool. Because there are some awkward conversations when you're having sexuality discussion with your lover. And one of the things on the list was like an electrifying butt plug that like shocks you. And I told the coach, I would rather put my dick into an electric socket than put that in my ass. And she was like, I wonder why. She stoically says to me in front of my wife, I wonder why you have such a violent knee-jerk response to something other people love. And I was like, damn, she has so much more groundedness in this moment than I do. I am being immature in this moment. And I don't want electrified butt plugs in my ass. But it opened me up to people live a totally different life than I would want to, and they love it. I should learn why. And it was cool.
It made you more empathetic?
It made me more empathetic, and it opened my mind to
where you were closed-minded.
Yeah, to sexual things, sure, but everything. Like I would I'm taking my wife and kids on a 7-week adventure to Europe this winter. I would tie the decision to do that back to me not putting an electrified butt plug up my ass. Because the thought of pulling my kids out of school, having them with me 24/7, traveling to Europe, not having a plan, it's like, no way. No way. That version of me, no way. This version of me, why not?
Being curious, being open to possibility, reflecting on why not.
Yep.
Not putting walls in your mind around like this is the way, or it's interesting. It's really funny because I've had probably in the last 5 to 7 years different types of dreams of having sex with men. And I'm asking myself, maybe I'm gay. Am I gay? And I don't think that I've ever gotten aroused when I've had these dreams, but it's made me interested and wondering, why do I have dreams like that? And what is there to human nature around sexuality and around different things?
I don't interpret dreams, but are you a top or a bottom?
Oh boy. I don't know if I've...
Maybe you're just a conqueror.
It's mainly been oral sex.
Okay. Giving or receiving?
I think it's got to be a power thing.
But giving or receiving?
Receiving.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm
I think
on
it's
the
a power
thing
thing
that you're on.
It might be a power thing, but it's been made me very curious. And Katie and I generally have really good conversations around this, and because I got a lot of trauma and wounds, and I'll just bring up some crazy shit, and she typically is able to hold it, but it just makes me wonder where I was closed-minded, and especially going back to being like adolescent males, when there's like stuff around like being gay or homosexual is like, and then I get to college and playing football, and like these guys are kind of being half gay and half homosexual,
right. As a way to not be.
As a way to not be. Yeah, and it just makes you realize like how much stuff. It made me realize how much stuff around the way I think about the world is conditioned from the way that we think things. So I don't know if I've admitted this ever on a video. We can keep it, Greg. But I appreciate you allowing me to share that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I asked you the question around what do you want people? You want people to realize that they have the power to do what they want to do.
More than that, I want them to realize that their problems are their responsibility and their solutions are their responsibility. I want people to know not just that you have the power to get out, but that you got in. And I know it's not fair. I know that people are dealt different hands. I'm not immune to understanding that. And it's harder for some people. And some people end up in a more difficult situation. And it's not necessarily their fault. It is their responsibility. And if it's not, for the person who would argue, no, it's not, then you're deeming that person dependent. And I'm not.
Brilliant. You're giving them their power back. What about the doctors and fitness coaches and trainers?
What about them?
Other than saying the same, other than saying you have the power to do what you want to do, but what would you share? You're dying tomorrow. What would you share with them? You have a bunch of coaches who work for Active Life RX. A lot of your content is towards people in healthcare and policymakers and people who change things. What would you share with them?
Your responsibility is immense. It's
with great power comes great Peter Parker's uncle.
No, because you don't have to have great power. Like when the idea that with great power comes great responsibility is true. But the way to get great power is to yield great responsibility, or to wield great responsibility.
It works
right?
both ways.
Yes. So my thing on that is it is so easy. It's so easy to make lazy decisions that improve your life at the expense of somebody else's, that seem victimless. And that internal slip is everything that you need to know if you would do that you're not the person who's going to be able to move things in the direction that you purport to want to. I want them to understand that there is no turning it off. Like I was telling you earlier, I wrote a culture code for our company. One of the things I wrote in there is everybody in the company, you are a salesperson.
Yes, thank you.
What I want them to know is they are salespeople, like the coaches, the doctors. You are salespeople of what you say, of what you think is important. You are either selling it or you are showing people not to buy it every moment of every day.
And I wanted you to speak more to it. When you were eating tacos, you started talking about this, and I said, save it for... You started talking about the conversation where... What was it? I lost it. Because there's something about the way that your staff was operating and the opportunity that they could have to impact and change people. Was it the one...
We were talking about everyone's a sales member. I didn't lose it, so I got you.
Okay, cool.
And if it's not exactly, you bring me back. We were talking about the idea that I made a post, 2 posts in a row on my Instagram story that said, that showed a testimonial of a client that we helped, and then a testimonial of a client's client about the help that they got from the person who we taught. I said, this is what we do for people. So, who should you introduce to me today? Because my DMs are open for your loved ones, your friends, your family, and your colleagues. And they introduced those people to me in the DM. And I want our team to understand the people who made referrals to me in the DM are our clients who I've never met, who I didn't know were our clients, who you talk to every day. The responsibility of being a salesperson all the time, whether you ever transact or not, is the bare minimum of working here. That's what we were talking about.
And you're right. I stopped you because it was making me thinking Zig Ziglar said you can have anything you want in life as long as you help as many other people get what they want in life, which just means you're selling things, but you're also selling transformation and change and what's possible for people. And that really spoke to me, that the way that you help empower your staff by being who they are is to be that way, whatever they're selling, as far as standing for what's best for people, which goes back to the whole transformation thing, that it becomes an exponential type logarithm that grows, a flywheel.
So I'm not a big sports fan anymore, but there's a sports story that I love. There's a lot of sports story that I love, but there's one in particular where the New England Patriots were in the middle of their Super Bowl runs, and they traded a guy named Channing Marsh, who, upon being traded, spoke to all the news outlets and was like, there's no fun in New England. It's not fun. Like, we don't play, like, lunches are quick, like, not fun. And so the reporters started asking the Patriots players, is it true it's not fun? Is it true it's not fun? Is it true it's not fun? And Julian Edelman, who is a future Hall of Fame wide receiver, got annoyed. And so he walked over to the whiteboard in the locker room, took a marker, and wrote on the whiteboard, "Winning is fun." Capped the marker, put it down, left the room. And the message was received. When someone asks, "Is it fun here?" The answer is, winning is fun. We don't win in practice. We win because of practice. And so we will trade the everyday fun for the one day of fun that nobody else gets to have when we hoist the Super Bowl trophy. We carry that mentality at Active Life. It's, you want to find balance, work somewhere else. We see balance as only being possible in the doing of world-class work. What that means is when you're at home, do not pick up your phone for work. Be the mom, be the dad, the husband, the wife, the partner, whatever, that everybody else wishes that they could be. And when you're at work, if no one in your family is dying, do not pick up your phone. Like, winning is what matters for us, because winning for us is making the lives of everybody who we come across better.
It's making the change.
And it's so hard to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have the luxury of turning it on and turning it off.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I want to... First, I'm really glad that you came out here because I said we can do this interview on Zoom, and you're like, I'm going to come out here. Mm-hmm. And so I love you. I don't get to see you so often. I know. So first, I'm grateful that you're here and that you're talking, but anytime I interact with you, I always feel like I'm made better. And whenever I think about you, I think of the first time Kat broke up with me, and I was walking down the street by myself, which I used to walk everywhere when I was like feeling shitty. And then you like picked me up and you were talking to me about, because I've never broken up with somebody before. So I'll never forget that. And I'm realizing that as we're having this conversation, I have this clinic, Barefoot Rehab. We also have adhesion release methods where we teach other doctors and therapists how to do the treatment we do, which is diagnosing and treating adhesions. And I'm scared because I see this vision of this homestead with my family and other people and communities. And I'm reading A Course in Miracles, which we don't have to get into that, but I'm really trying to, when Chris is in charge, like Chris's ego, his will, he usually fucks it up. Mm-hmm. So I'm really trying to listen and pray to like, what's God's will for me, like through me as the vehicle. And I'm scared that I'm going to have to compromise what I'm building here and with the other doctors and therapists, because sometimes I feel like maybe, I struggle every day with coming to work and showing up for 7 hours and treating patients and then doing all the other stuff I do. It's just a struggle. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's so much of a struggle that I'm asking myself, is God asking me to stop? Which scares the fuck out of me.
Why does it scare you?
Because I feel like the mission that we have here, similar to your mission, is, I think from a meaning perspective, I feel very aligned with what you are and the change that you're trying to make. Mm-hmm. I worry that who I am is not able to fulfill this mission. And I basically pray for other human beings to come into my life who can help share some of the burden, the load, and the stress.
Can I interject?
Sure.
I think based on what I'm hearing you say, I think that you're building this vision for who you think that you need to be, who you think you're supposed to be is a better way to put it, mm-hmm. to be able to do what you're describing wanting to do. And you haven't been able to do what you're describing wanting to do by trying to be that person. So what's possible is that that's not the person who is going to be successful at doing these things. And the thing that you are afraid of changing is the thing that's in the not changing of it is the thing that's in the way of you.
The fact that I haven't changed.
No. The fact that you think you have to play this specific role and this specific vision instead of surrendering to the role that's being presented to you.
What is the role that's being presented to me?
I have questions, not answers. But I'll give you a question, a pointed question. What if the reason that keeps happening is you're too busy treating patients?
I know that to be true.
So what is the thing that gets in the way and keeps you treating patients?
I struggled. It's funny. I was just talking, I think, to one of our patients today that I worry that it's either I can't find the second provider, or do I literally just stop treating patients and close the barefoot rehab side of this down, which scares me because
I don't think you have to do that. I think that when you look for a provider, how do you look? What do you say? What are you looking for?
Somebody who is willing to work hard, somebody who's willing to think critically, somebody who wants a certain type of life in the future.
So I'm going to push you on this one the same way I push the school district. I would not be looking for any of that. What is your mission?
Our mission is to, it's on the wall over there.
Okay, here's another question. Why is your mission why is your mission important?
Because it helps people not stop suffering.
Okay. And what happens if people keep suffering?
That's not okay by me.
That's fine, but no one gives a shit about what's okay by you to come and work here. What happens to the people who suffer if they keep suffering? What's their cost of inaction?
Their cost of inaction? The person who's suffering continues suffering.
Which leads to what?
It's hard to keep taking it.
Okay. How does that affect other people in their lives?
It causes them to suffer.
Okay. Describe the suffering.
I mean, I can only really think of myself.
Well, no, you can think of a patient who you've helped not suffer anymore.
You want it to end, and you think of doing a really stupid thing to want it to end.
To yourself?
It has been.
Okay. So how would that leave the people in their life if they weren't in it anymore?
Immense suffering.
Okay. So what you're really looking for is a person who sees the cost of inaction of your patients as unacceptable. You're looking for somebody who wants to help people become the end of a cycle that changes the possibilities for everybody in their life and their community. Because you believe here at Barefoot Rehab that changing one person's outlook could change thousands of people's lives.
So I haven't found the person who feels similarly the way that I do, that is wanting to end suffering. They're in it for other reasons.
If you put it out there that you're looking for people who are radically empathetic, who can feel all of the cascade of problems that happen when somebody suffers and doesn't get it solved, you can see the life of the people who are important to them being less than they otherwise could be because they didn't get the influence of this positive person that was right there the whole time, and who wants to be the ones who intervene in that and make it possible. I think you'll have people who hear this podcast, who see your content, who hear you say that, who will fall over themselves to ask you how they do that. And you have the unique ability of teaching them specifically how to do that. It's trusting the universe to send you those people, and then trusting yourself not to develop them, but to reveal what is exceptional in each of them, so that they can go be on your behalf. Instead, like, that's how we hire everybody. We're not looking for people who have a skill set, who want to make a certain amount of money, who want this employment package. It's people who see our vision for what is possible and are too inspired by it to do anything else for a living.
I appreciate you very much. I have this like just enormous sense of peace in my body, which is quite beautiful, and I'm yes, always very grateful. But thank you. I'm going to sit with that. I'm probably going to have Greg just splice what we just talked about, and we're going to make an ad, and then we're going to boost it to all the chiropractors, massage therapists. And so, yeah, that was fucking awesome.
No, see, I would push you there. You can push it to like chiropractors, physical therapists, massage therapists, athletic trainers. But there are people who will get certified.
I'm seeing that. Yeah, our current 2 apprentices and a guy I just talked to yesterday wants to go to. Yeah, thank you. I
find the people, build the skills, reveal the exceptional.
Find the people, build the skills,
reveal the exceptional in them.
Dude. So if somebody is in chronic pain anywhere in the world and wants some personal development help and they want freedom without compromise, they go on Instagram and find Active Life RX or go to activeliferx.com.
They could do that. But I think the best bet for them is to just come and find me direct.
Why?
Because I like the conversations.
You get value from that.
I learned so much about people who we help by talking to them first. And I don't have time to talk to everybody immediately, but I get around to talking to everybody.
It's amazing.
And all of our stuff is linked from my personal social media. Like if you go to the Active Life RX social media, you don't find the Active Life Professional social media. If you go to the professional, you don't find, you can only fit so much in the little bio. But if they come and find me, everything is linked from there.
Got it. Dr. Sean, Sean, Pastuch, Past.
Just put it in the notes and let them click it.
Shut the front door. All right, done.
There you go.
Got it, Greg. Okay, cool. Any parting words?
Always. I feel like the work that you do and the work that we do are like the left and the right of a train track, in a sense that they are parallel and they will never intersect in such a way that we can't do the same thing for people that you can do for people. And you guys don't enjoy doing for people what we do for people. And if we were ever in a world where you were next door to us, the train fits on the track. This is not a solicitation of you to move your business to us. It is to give people the awareness that there are solutions for you that you may or may not know exist. And all it takes for you to live a completely different life is to decide that you're going to, and then take the actions necessary towards it. They can balance on the left side of the track or the right side of the track on their feet and get where they need to go.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. To any of our patients or followers, please follow Active Life RX on Instagram, Dr. Sean Pastuch on Instagram. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's somebody who I look forward to hearing in his email newsletters in my inbox every day. And there's nobody I trust more if you need help finding freedom without compromise with your fitness and your emotional life and your personal life and connections than this guy who's been there for me in the past when I've gone through some very tough times. So I love you, man. And I can't wait for the next one.
I love you too, and I appreciate it. And I want to let you guys know, if you do decide to come and follow me, there will be a day that I say something that pisses you off. Remember that it made you think, and I wasn't coming at you. I just was asking you to think about something differently than you usually do.